Vizichachi got MVP last split, I think, and I watched him stream a lot, like, because he uploads his own gameplay on YouTube and stuff, and he got Challenger in Korea this past the past offseason, so I respect him a lot, actually. I think he's really good, and my mid laner, Ryu, is from Europe, too, so he gives me kind of, like, the lowdown of, like, how these guys were in, like, scrim culture and stuff like that when he played in Europe, so he tells me that Vizichachi just plays everything, and his jungler always ganks for him, and he's, like, basically God on Earth, so it should be fun to see how I stack up against him.
And we'll see how the teams stack up. Welcome back to our continuing coverage of Rift Rivals 2017, North America versus Europe. My name is David Freak Turley, here with our North American counterpart, and Sam Kobe Hartman Kensler, and our EU flavor of Andrew Vedius Day. How you guys doing?
I'm good.
Great.
I'm very excited.
Good. I'm excited as well. Of course, Unicorns of Love and Phoenix One will be doing battle here right before us. It's going to be the first game of the day for Unicorn specifically. Let's take a look at these players hitting the Rift, though, here in Game 1. Phoenix One will be starting on the blue side. We'll bring that roster up with Zig in the top. We just heard from him. Rookie of the split, Mike Young in the jungle. Ryu, formerly of H2K, of course, in the mid lane. Arrow and Xpecial in that bot lane with their coach Fly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what else they can bring. They had a pretty good start to the game earlier on in the day. Didn't quite end the way in which they wanted. And they're going to be going up against Unicorns of Love on the red side of the Rift. Their top laner is Vizichachi, and the jungle is Xerxes. Mid laner Exile, AD carry Sanex. Their support Hillisang and coach Sheepy.
So excited for this matchup. And you mentioned a rookie of the split, Mike Young, because in North America, he was the only rookie for this split at the time. But these two junglers going to head-to-head, they're both very young. Xerxes as well, just 17. And he has really impressed me, not only with the level of play for such a young person here joining Unicorns of Love, but also the variety. His jungle champion pool really inspired me because I was a big Warwick lover and a big lover of the new Cinderhulk. So I have my fingers crossed, and I'm hoping for a little bit more innovation from him than we've seen from the other junglers who are even still not going Cinderhulk on Gragas, which is one of the ones we thought would adopt it the quickest.
And he is one of the big reasons as to why Unicorns of Love are doing so well in their group. They currently sit in second place with a score record of 5-1. But they were in the finals of last split, and they're considered, alongside Fnatic, to be one of the best teams in Europe. But in their recent performances, they haven't looked the strongest. In their week 5 up against NIP, they definitely got challenged. They actually went all 3 games against the lowest ranked team in Group A right now, and there have been a few question marks as to what their current state is like.
And that's interesting because Phoenix One kind of have the opposite route here in the split. In their week 5, they're coming off a 2-0 week versus the strongest, then strongest team in North America, where they were able to take down Immortals. So definitely a bit of a difference there as far as the trajectories of these two teams, and does make it more interesting.
Absolutely agree it is going to be, but I always want to see what current form is going to be like. As we mentioned, it's Unicorn's first game so far, Rift Rivals, but here's what you kind of saw coming out of Arrow right here. And Caitlyn is like the premier bot laner right now. It's getting a lot of traction in Europe. It's been the #1 bot lane in North America, and he lost lane heavily on a Caitlyn, and that's a major issue when you're coming in here supposed to be, defending MVP and one of the carries for the squad.
Specifically lane phase, Arrow has been struggling, trying to get those CS numbers up, and it has really plagued them. We thought, with Xpecial coming in, maybe there'd be some, more comfortable duo laning there, but hasn't really shown up that much.
No. But we'll have to see how well he does up against Samex. Another player on Phoenix One that I've had my eye on is this Mike Young superstar. We talked a lot about him earlier on in the day. And what we did see a lot was a lot of focus on the 2 solo laners. And I know that's a very common thing that he does over in the North American LCS. And I think it paid off well in terms of the early game, but they couldn't quite transition that into any successful lead in the mid game. Yeah,
they did definitely look pretty clunky in that mid game, trying to transition, through to those objectives. The side wave control wasn't quite there as well. So, a lot of things as far as the setup for these guys that they might want to correct here. That being said, Unicorns of Love do have that tendency to gravitate towards mid lane and just go for more team fights. So maybe they can slot right in and go toe-to-toe. We see some nice 5-on-5s.
Definitely a very bloody team.
Yeah, to any North American fans that absolutely love Cloud9, they will enjoy the playstyle of Unicorns of Love because it is very similar. Mid-game team fighting, grouping up mid. They're very good at finding opportune fights all across the map. And even when they're in massive deficits, they're a team that does not give up.
Even down to the mid laner who plays too aggressively and dies for random times.
Too,
I mean,
yes.
it's as Cloud9 as you can get onto this one, honestly. Last split's rookie of the split as well. Contracts for C9 and Xerxes here for Unicorns of Love. And we will be going into Champion Select very soon, of course. 10 players all on the rosters at their computers as well, and I just can't wait to see what comes out of this one. I'm expecting, though, a very early Nidalee ban.
Yeah, Nidalee ban probably going to be there. We do expect also the focus or the tendency to 5-on-5 to also affect champion select here. Probably see lots of hard CC for engagement, standard front lines maybe, and higher priority here. Let's see if we do have the classic Elise and Zac bans matching up here.
Yeah, the Elise in there so far, and Unicorns might put in triple jungle bans, or they're happy to play with Nidalee. I know Xerxes is a player. I remember way back when he first brought out Warwick, he's like, yeah, it's a really good counter. I think it was to Rek'Sai, he had said at the time, that I like that 1v1. And he's like, we're going to leave up the Queen of the Jungle and Rek'Sai, and I'll just play Warwick into it, and it'll be fine. I remember that interview way back when, and we'll see if he thinks he's got the counter picks in Italy ready.
I'm loving these bans from Phoenix One, showing so much respect towards Unicorns of Love solo laners. So far in the European LCS for Summer, Chachi has not lost a game on Shen. He's very impactful on the champion. He consistently wins lane. And the Caston has also been one of the specials for Exile that he's had a lot of success on. So right now, it feels like Phoenix One trying to take Unicorns of Love off some of their most successful champions.
Some of their flavors going to be allowed, though. The Lee Sin and the Nidalee both up, so Mike Young's going to get something comfortable as long as they pick his role in the first round here.
Yeah, and I don't think you have to early pick something like a Nidalee. Even though everyone's talking about like, oh my god, I got to ban it against Mike Young, against Phoenix One. Definitely do not need to use an early round pick on that, or else you give away so much of your priority from being on blue side. And they get that versatility, the playmaking from Xpecial that has been very important for them.
Yeah, Thresh is the #1 support, I think, in pick ban kind of everywhere in the world right now. So I think it's a very safe and also, I think, smart first pick.
Tahm Kench very close up there with Thresh, and probably should be an answer here from Unicorns of Love.
And you'd think that, but typically the Unicorns of Love have this tendency to go for a Blitzcrank into the Thresh rather than pick something like the Braum or a Tahm Kench. Definitely a personal preference, has a lot of value in the mid game when they group up a lot, but I do agree that Tahm Kench or Braum would make a lot more sense as an answer to it.
Especially seeing Galio already.
Yes.
It is a really good combination, so maybe they'll show it here, but as you said, different tendency here.
Ooh, and they blind the Twitch, actually, with only a single bot laner banned away, so happy to put that on Samix.
And this is a common thing that you will see from the Unicorns of Love, because Samix has actually only played 3 AD carries this split in Caitlyn, Twitch, and the Kalista as well.
3 Xayah games.
And the Xayah as well, yes, he did bring out the Xayah too. So the reason why they want to lock this in is to guarantee that he has a comfort pick down in the bottom lane, and he has a huge amount of mid-game teamfight presence later on into the game. And usually they don't mind sacrificing his laning phase, typically because Hylissang roams anyway. So even if they had a strong bottom lane, Hylissang wouldn't be there to support him very much often.
Well, they already do have, the strong front line and that late game AD carry insurance, so their 5-on-5 is definitely setting up very well. Maybe mousing over at least the Blitzcrank you mentioned, his preferred counter into Thresh.
And they're going to go for style. So Vetties, you called it right, and that was the pick up here. And then Kobe, you called it as well. P1 not going to rush their jungle pick. Of course, neither will Unicorns of Love. Again, both of these players having somewhat unique champion select in that role, so you can let them flex that pool, put it a bit later down, and let their other roles get priority picks.
So there's still the possibility of the Warwick coming out from the Unicorns of Love. I wouldn't be too surprised if they wanted to go for an early prioritization of that. An alternative is the Rek'Sai, something that Xerxes did bring out fairly recently, and he's had a fair amount of early success on with as well.
Meanwhile, it does look like Phoenix One might want to gear a bit more towards the early game as well. The Kalista and Thresh lane, with the amount of possibilities for crowd control, they actually can attack a Twitch fairly effectively and try and make that happen, before Galio gets to that level 6 or before double teleports really are super influential in the lane phase. If they were to get a more early game jungler, they could help out with that. Thresh and Kalista have ways of also assisting those jungle ganks in the bottom side.
We'll see what comes out of this one. Gragas off the table as well, just removing the champions that Mike Young has played most recently. That Lee Sin still available, but we know Xerxes is a very good player. Hasn't played it yet this split, though, so it might be a one-sided champion. We'll see if it comes out at some point. One final ban for Phoenix One until Phase 2 starts. The Unicorns of Love actually know what mid lane they're facing against. The question is, do they want to flex the Galley or not?
That is a good possibility. We have seen Exile bring the Galio in the middle lane before, but they also have the answer of a Cassiopeia that we've seen sometimes used in the Corki that some mid laners do find works pretty well into that matchup, and something that Exile just allows him to play as aggressively as he typically does during the laning phase.
And there it is. Rek'Sai drops all the way down to second pick phase here.
Yep.
Unicorn's going to be able to jump on that one.
It's interesting seeing P1 pay the respect to Warwick, knowing that Xerxes is, of course, a big Warwick player, and is rather ban that away than you know, the Rek'Sai is much more common for every other team in the world.
Yeah, and the thing is, okay, so Rek'Sai, yes, she can unburrow, and we've all seen her interrupting Lee Sin plays like that, but the Warwick is even more stifling, I think, for the Lee Sin, so they're kind of protecting Mike Young there a little bit, taking the lesser of two evils here, getting through.
Absolutely agree on this one. And now 10 seconds to go. Phoenix One need a top laner. Right now the hover is Camille, and Unicorns of Love smartly are waiting until the very end to flex the Galio. So if they don't like the top lane matchup, they can send that mid and still counterpick with Renekton.
Yeah, no surprise here. As I said before, just piling on the early game for Phoenix One. They definitely want to win this game in the early stages before this Twitch scales up, before Galio starts jumping down to that bottom side of the lane, and even the Rise with that extra mobility.
Yeah, and in North America, we don't see a ton of Rise, but it's actually now Exile's 4th Rise game of the split if you count Summer into Rift Rival so far. So commonplace here for Unicorns, but if Phoenix One, how often have they ever scrimmed against Rise in this split?
Yeah, and Exile also one of the early adopters in multiple versions of Rise. I keep on remembering all of the prep that we've done for him in multiple events, and it's always kind of been definitely one of his champions.
It was he was one of the first ones to bring it out in Europe and really demonstrate the power of the ultimate too, like taking his whole team out of the Baron pit to safety after securing it. A lot of cool plays that he's done, but he still has that tendency, because he's so experienced on the champion, he knows its limits. He tends to try very hard to win laning phase early on, so we'll have to track how much he tries to pressure Ryu during the laning phase, and it'll be exciting to see these two match up again like they did last summer.
Absolutely going to be fun to watch for. So here we go, Rift Rivals 2017 continuing here with Game 4. North America down 2-1, an overall group stage count, though that doesn't really determine who wins the tournament overall. Still worth noting that Europe, I mean, it doesn't officially matter, but for bragging rights, which is the point of the tournament anyway, Europe is currently ahead, so Phoenix One hoping to bounce back off of their Fnatic loss earlier on in the day. Unicorns hoping to start the game off on a good foot right here, as the rest of the European teams have picked up wins so far. And it's all down to who can play the best. The coaches have already shaken hands, they've already walked off the stage. And it's one last sip of coffee for Special as Phoenix One load into the Rift to face off with Unicorns of Love here in game number 4. Let's see who can do it.
And as you rightly said, Kobe, looking at these compositions for P1, very early game focus. They want to try and snowball some kind of early lead, and that's very similar to what NIP did in week 5 up against UOL, where they were actually able to get themselves the victory. But the big thing is being able to hold onto that lead, because the thing about the Unicorns of Love is they're kind of like a battering ram. When there is a wall in front of them, they just try to go through it, and they don't stop. Constantly charging, constantly hitting the battering ram. And even if their battering ram breaks, it doesn't stop them. They still try to make the battering ram work, even at their own loss. So if you have a lead, you have to be effective at being able to control them and eventually destroy that battering ram.
That is a good visual, even if the battering ram breaks. So there's just pieces of wood on the ground. They're just picking up sticks, just trying to smack the door down with.
They fight people with their wooden swords like it's a training mode or something.
Yeah, that's one problem. Battering rams, very difficult to change directions with those.
Yes, and that's the thing with UOL, right? Like they don't know how to bend it, right? Top lane, there's a really sharp curve. Mid lane, straight line. Super easy for them to run down. But they're really good at it. And that's the thing that you have to respect, because it's one thing to joke, but it's also something you have to respect, because their ability to find opportune flanks, their ability to get onto primary targets, these guys are good at finding these fights.
All right, well, let's see if Phoenix One are going to jumpstart the game plan, because we've talked about early game focus. They are on blue side. The best thing that we've seen down there is this super leash, the small raptors, but it's Mike Young just starting on red right now. Is going to get a fairly normal leash down there, while Zig and Ryu both try and delay Xerxes. They got one. They should get out then. They know they're outnumbered.
Yeah, but there's no hard CC, of course. It's Chachi uses Q, so Zig does this almost every game in North America. He invades in the Raptors, brings Ryu with them, and they are going to deny the early 2 from Xerxes.
And they got one for each of their laners, so I'd actually like to see if he's going to get up there in time for those melee minions. Meanwhile, Mike Young, as we said, he got pulled directly on red, so this is just a pure red into invade here for buff to buff.
That's a good ward, too.
And what the other 2 solo laners are doing, keeping that vision. Here comes Hylissang, though.
Well, he's going to leash it for him. It's actually not pulling the aggro away, so it's still full patience right here, and Q Smite should take it.
Unfortunately for the UOL bot lane, they can't really do much because Xpecial and Arrow were able to get the push, and now Hylissang, he might be in trouble.
Can he get hooked? A lot of damage in Hylissang so far. Looking for Xpecial to maybe go for the play. Oh, it's Flay, not the Q available, and now he's got to back out. Going to stay away from hook range, and he's going to get picked right here. Damage out from Samux. trading back and forth, and looks like it's going to be the Gromp steal.
Yeah, minions are under turret now, so Samek should go and finish up that CS. They try to harass a little bit. It's a little bit of a delay, but not going to really result in much. And that's a big thing why we always talk about, you know, early game junglers in combination with pushing laners. You get extra support when you're going for these invades. Brute Force, make sure that play is going to work out.
And despite that play being pretty good, Xerxes right now is doing a decent job of matching everything else. If he doesn't get stopped taking wolves, it's an equal trade of jungle pass regardless. Okay, you took 2 small raptors out, that's going to help P1 a little bit, but it's still the same 3 camps being stolen back and forth, just Xerxes is 20 seconds slower.
Meanwhile, even with the Raptor steals that Zig and Ryu got, with one of them for each, they're both getting pushed out of lane.
He's baiting, though. The root's there. The flash, the E's going to land. He misses the Q, though. Sonic Wave's not there. Ryu go for the autos. One more will get him. And he takes down Exile for first blood.
That's okay. The creeps blocked him, so they had his back. And Mike Young able to still assist in that kill for Ryu. This is what happened last week in week 5 of the North American LCS. Ryu on Corki, gets the early kill, gets the early momentum, and that's how they snowball through the mid side.
And funnily, this is also what happened in week 5 of the European LCS, where Exile tried very hard to win his lane. He knows Mike Young is in his jungle. The bottom lane saw him, and instead he still tries to go for the kill onto Ryu, and he just does not respect the positioning of the enemy jungle.
And you can tell, right? Because usually, even back during lane swap days, when people lane swapped in, you know, level 1s, the mid laners would always hover the bottom side if their jungler is invading on the enemy blue, and then top side should have been Exiles, but here's a hook.
Hook onto Arrow means a lot of damage there, throwing some javelins out, but he's got to be careful. Exhaust will time out eventually from this Twitch. He's trying to stealth back up. Arrow eventually burns the flash, get away. Heal still up, and now Xpecial has a Deadly Venom stacked up. Forced to run. Nice hook, though, means the fight might continue, but Arrow has to back some damage. Now the re-engage, and Exile Sonic Wave is going to land. The burst is there. One more shot could do him in. Not quite going to get it, and now it's Zig's time to run away, and he's going to be knocked down. Xerxes getting the gank off of the top side.
So while there's a lot of jungle focus onto Exile, in defense to him, this is something that he's used to, because he often burns his flash early. Junglers will like to come back and try to shut him down as they go for it again.
Can he hit that one, though?
Valkyrie in, Q's going to land for one. Ryu, one more shot will do it, and the assist not even going to go over. Looks like Mike Young didn't give him a shield or something. And now Xerxes going to land a little bit more poke. Ryu forced to run out.
So in the end, they get the kill anyways. Yes. Brute Force Exile stays around under his turret in the face of 2 very healthy members of Phoenix One. And we were about to say, oh yes, and Xerxes is able to enter on the top side and at least get, you know, the Galio roaming, who will eventually be able to get to this level 6 and affect the rest of the map. But no, Xerxes goes down again. All right, well, let's take a look. This still, to their credit, is a Unicorn's victory on the top side.
Yeah.
Xerxes is able to get up there, knock up, and Flash do come through to finish it. But then again, the continued dive here from Phoenix One.
Most mid laners would back. Most mid laners would say, you know what, I don't have the HP to defend this. Exile believes he can get the outplay, especially with the shield underneath him. Just doesn't respect the damage output. Even though he dodges the Q from the Lee, it's not enough.
Definitely a mistake there. A non-dash mid lane champion with no flash available versus 2 dash champions. Definitely going to be difficult to outplay, and he's unable to do it. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, though, we just saw Arrow and Xpecial go back to base. Arrow was able to at least pick up the Vamp Scepters for some extra life steal in that lane.
Yeah, and he did it pretty well. Xpecial's actually here to create a freeze on the wave. He didn't match the recall, so Xpecial's going to create a double-stacked wave, and it's going to deny a lot from Samek and Hylissang.
But what you're going to see is a Hylissang classic. Once his AD carry isn't in lane, he looks for roam. Often he does it with mid, and usually we'll see him moving around with Xerxes, but given that Xerxes is back right now, Hylissang's just seeing if he can try and get some kind of pressure down onto Ryu to help out his mid laner.
Yeah, and the problem for Hylissang is that Ryu hasn't even had to burn his flash offensively. There's so much pressure here from Mike Young previously in the mid lane that Ryu still has both summoners available and feeling quite confident there. So even though there was an opening and some time for Blitzcrank to roam up towards the mid lane, the mid lane just too strong at the moment for them to get anything done.
And you can see this bot lane plus 13 right now for Arrow in that lane. We're going to see if it turns around a bit more as Ryu keeps putting the damage down. I mean, Exile has basically no stats. It's tier and boots.
Very early level 6 from Ryu. The fact that he's been able to go 2-0 this early on, pick himself up a Sheen 7 minutes into the game is already going to give him so much extra pressure in this middle lane. And once he gets that package, you're looking at a big roaming opportunity.
I mean, he had that since first blood, but now it's the mid lane push.
Yeah, here we go. Xpecial going in. Lantern's over.
They're going to look for the damage shot, but Exile, nice dodge, but not going to get away from that one. Mike Young, a rookie of the split, knocks down the mid lane.
And they're going to be able to, again, push another minion wave into the turret and cause Unicorns of Love to lose out on a few more.
Love the early mobility boots coming out with Xpecial, immediately grouping up with Mike Young, looking for another roam as they go for a flash hook.
What a flash hook, though. The damage is there. Do they have the rest of follow-up on an arrow? 600 health left on him. The chase in for Samix. The lantern to get him a safety, and he's going to stay alive.
And with those 2 turret shots, they actually end up winning the health battle in the trade overall. That means that Arrow doesn't have to go back to base, but here's the invade.
And Lee Sin grabbed the red, kicks away Xerxes, and says, this is my buff. You get away from my jungle, and out he goes.
Mike Young utilizing this pressure so effectively to just shut down Unicorns of Love as much as they can. Already with a 1,000 gold lead, P1 are looking good in this early game.
And again, this shouldn't be a huge surprise to people coming out of Champion Select where all of Phoenix One's composition is geared towards this early game. Really good here, Mike Young and Xpecial working together though. They have some very high jungle proximity stats as far as jungler very close to the support player early on in the first 15 minutes of the game, and they showcase the effectiveness there.
See if more big plays can come out of this one. Exile hoping to lick his wounds now, 0-3. Only down 7 minions, though. He's done a good job of at least keeping his farm somewhat decent. He's actually tying what Samix has, which maybe condemns Samix a bit for not dying and being in the same CS as a 0-3 mid laner, but at least he's trying to keep his farm up.
A lot of pressure has been exerted by Arrow and Xpecial with the Kalista Thresh. Always a difficult lane to play against. And picking a Blitzcrank, you do naturally lose a lot of pressure during the 2 versus 2. And while we have seen a few good hooks, it hasn't really prevented Arrow from applying a lot of poke and getting out on a lot of successful trades. The big thing that I'm keeping my eye on is, one, what will Ryu do with this package, especially with...
Nothing.
Well, oh yeah, okay, never mind. Never mind.
Literally
absolutely nothing.
Caster curse.
I was hoping that he would try and set up for a
so
bot
happy
play.
about that.
But I was hoping that he would try and set up a bot play, because when you have this kind of pressure and you have no flash on your support and it's a Blitzcrank, it actually makes it very easy to try and set up a kind of TP player, go for an early tower.
All right, well, they're going to get out of the bottom lane to deny some of that pressure. Unicorns alone going to try and switch out of this poor early game for themselves and overload on the top side. Maybe they'll try and pressure down for a lot of damage on the turret and force for that objective. Meanwhile, Mike Young is taking the dragon while they're doing this, so Mike Young won't be able to go towards the mid lane this time.
Bad news for you. He flashed. Why do you flash from a Rek'Sai? He's definitely going to die. Xerxes gets the kill in the mid lane. Ryu losing both his summoners. Meanwhile, Mike Young sold the Ocean Drake, but Toplin's under fire from Unicorns.
Unicorns of Love picking up the momentum just that bit extra as they find a kill down onto Ryu. It did cost Exile both of his summoner spells, but Tau will still go in favor of Unicorn of Love as well. So things going all across the map in favor of the Unicorn.
And that was pretty poor there from Phoenix One. Even though they do get this Drake, they had so much control on bottom side, they could have pushed for first turret gold beforehand, and then you pick up the Drake second. The order of those objectives does matter. So the fact that they were going to be able to get both of them anyways and just had the wrong order there, definitely going to feel that one later. And
this is the thing you always have to bear in mind when playing up against a team like the Unicorns. They are super proactive. Even if they fall behind, they will not suddenly slow down on the gas. They will always look for something to try and pressure you with. Now that they've been able to get the top tower, they'll transition that into a Rift Herald, and they can open up the map more to allow the Galio and the Rise to start making roaming map plays by sending this Rift Herald mid and taking that objective down.
Phoenix One, let's take a look at the replay here on Ryu. He does go aggressive once again on Exile, trying to use his advantage, but Xerxes there with the flash to follow his W there. And then, as you said, you know, the new Rek'Sai, as long as she has damaged you, there's no use flashing away on low health. You will get executed. Here goes the mid turret siege, though.
Pulls in Xpecial, who is safe because of Kalista, gets pulled right back into the ulti. Goes for the second knocker, but that's going to be a kill picked up. Ryu still had aggro, so Xpecial is safe. Kill in the mid lane. Turret under fire a bit more, but it will wait for the next wave.
Hylissang trying to go for a hook underneath the tower. The intentions were good, but the execution not so much when Chachi was not in a position to support. Your Rek'Sai had gone back to base. 2 versus 4, unfortunately, he loses his life.
And the other thing is that trading here for Rift Herald for Drake does lose a lot of value versus a team that has early game power, because it's much more difficult to utilize that Rift Herald to get more than like maybe just the charge off or half of a turret HP when you're against a team that already has map control. Meanwhile, top side, they do get the flash out of Vizichachi.
Yeah, he flashed away from the Q, and Mike Young running out of health a little bit. Thankfully for him, there's no cooldowns left. He'll survive, but that was a little scary. Has the Ocean to regen.
God bless the Galio nerfs that are on this patch.
A little bit.
As Hylissang goes in for a hook.
Ooh, that was very smart to wait on that one. It was a nice attempt by Hillesong to hope that he would hit the lantern early, and good patience by Arrow to say, you're going to go for that one, and times it out. So both these players, I think, intelligent, even though they look weird.
Yeah, and then Phoenix One should just drop into this 1-3-1 where they're split pushing. They already have a ton of vision in the red quadrant of Unicorns of Love jungle. That's where they want to try and attack the last outer turret that Unicorns do have standing on the top side. So want to be able to create pressure across map and then move on that last outer objective. Here comes the Rift Herald, though. 3 members of Phoenix One could collapse towards the mid lane.
It'll be a bit slow, though. We'll see if they can come in time as the 3 or 4 Unicorns are attacking right now. P1 coming to roam in. TP coming in now from the Renekton. Will this be a fight? Flashplay's going to hit on the 2, and they found a mid laner for themselves. The damage up onto the rise. Exile running out of health, and he's going to drop. 1 for 0 now. Gallagher going to charge in, and P1 have to run. The double knockup still lands, though. And it's low health bars for Zig.
And again, we see the difficulty of Rift Herald versus a team that is early game oriented, that does have map control. Phoenix One actually use it against Unicorns of Love as a little bit of a bait.
Play down for a couple of seconds. They will knock down the mid laner, or the top, I should say, that both solos are gone. The hook's going to land, and that's going to be a dead Blitzcrank. Hillesong losing his life.
And X Special is just on fire right now. Play after play with this Thresh. As we said, this is why they first picked it for him. Now they can just run up the mid lane as well and continue the pressure.
Beautiful execution by P1 right now. They understand that at this point in the game, they're stronger than the Unicorns of Love. Chachi was not close enough to use his ultimate to keep Exile alive, which means that by shutting down the mid laner, a lot of the damage is unavailable. With Samix, he hasn't even completed an item yet, so the damage output is unavailable for Unicorns. P1 win the fight, and they're going to get another tower.
And there we go, mid lane 2-2, gonna fall. Solo gold over to Ryu, 300 into his pockets, and Phoenix One snowballing now 3,500 up with lane pressure actually in every single lane.
As expected for them. Now Mike Young, though, in the 2v1, a little bit of a scary situation here. He's still under chase.
If he Qs into R into knockup, there's a chance they can do something with Mike Young, but there's a lantern around, he should be fine.
Yeah, Thresh denies so many of those chases, especially when Unicorns do not have deep vision. They're trying to get some back for themselves now, invading on the blue buff.
Nothing gonna be picked up just yet. It'll just reset, heal back up, and Ryu should be able to grab that easily enough. Nice by Unicorns, though, getting back to the mid lane, seeing that it was a bit lackadaisical on the way back for P1, so at least a turret answered. Unicorns get the gold back to only 3,000 apart. Looks like another fight to be had, kicking him towards the wall. Xerxes does have flash, does have lanterns, level 9 right here, getting some damage onto him. Smites for health. Hook's gonna land on the top end, though, and Chachi forced to kite back a little bit. Buy some time, though. That shield's gonna be lasting for a while.
Samix just completed the recall here, so they won't have any extra support collapsing. Zig should be able to get the stun.
Gets the empowered one, waits for it with a Fury Generation, and Chachi not long for the road. P1, Special getting the kill, maybe not needed. They could have given that to Arrow, but at least the kill.
He deserves it. He's creating all the plays.
He does deserve it, but either way, it's going to be displacement on the Xerxes, pushing off to the side. Actually tried to unburrow under Ryu, got nothing for it. Their shot's going to land across the wall. One more for Phoenix One.
And this is something that we see so often from the Unicorns of Love. The initial setup looked promising. You understand what they're trying to do. P1, they want to go back to base. If you exert pressure in the enemy jungle, it makes it harder. You delay the recalls. You can then move to mid tower. You take the objective, but then you have to back away. Samix recalls, and UOL is still trying to fight over this blue. They do not have the proper setup. Just look at your minimap. You can see Rise nowhere near the fray. Samix is completing his back, and Xerxes and the rest of the squad are trying to say, hey, we can challenge this blue buff when they don't have the real damage to contest.
Yeah, they didn't have any vision to see who had actually completed the recalls for Phoenix One and who was still around. So Mike Young defending his own jungle there, starting it off, and then Xpecial, as we said, over and over again, creating the plays and actually securing the kill as well. And
I love the way in which P1 are consistently punishing that of Unicorns of Love, but I want to see them try and close it out, because so far they're utilizing this pressure very effectively, and they do have stronger side lanes right now, so they need to be setting up proper side lane control, and with the Baron spawning relatively soon, this should be a big point of contention they can force UOL into.
And I would say that as of right now, Phoenix One are keeping an appropriate pace. Very quick pace here. They've already got secondary turret on mid lane. They've got the second dragon already coming here with the Cloud Drake to allow them to get up to that top side even quicker. But we also just saw the extra layer there, where the deep vision that we kept mentioning that Phoenix One had left up in the red quadrant finally resulted in them also being able to get an extra kill. And that kill was also on the jungler, so makes it even easier to come quickly clean up the rest of the neutral objectives and keep that fast pace that you expect from this team right out of Champion Select.
We'll see that fast pace can continue. You talk about Xpecial deserving kills. He's one of the only two major beneficiaries of gold. If you check individual gold tallies, actually, it's really only Ryu and Xpecial holding leads over their opposition. Everyone else within about 400 or 500. So if Ryu's missing, it's not like Xpecial can use the gold that much. The fights are closer, and you've got to watch out for this Corki. If he's not there, Unicorn's on equal footing. He's going to fight Chachi, who thankfully has enough MR in the kit, and that magic shield as well, making that pretty reasonable for him. Satchel over the wall, though, going to look for the 4v1. Can they get him? Here comes the Flay. Here comes a kick into the wall. Going to chain as much CC as they can. Going to buy quite a bit of time. Nice Spike Special gets in front of him. Hooks a minion, though, and that means not enough damage to kill off Chachi.
But yeah, we'll go towards the tower, and that's the main focus. As you rightly said, in terms of the pace, they're continuing the pressure, right? Unicorns of Love, they don't have an answer to be able to deal with this top tower, and there's no objectives anywhere else on the map. You can see them only just now pinging that bottom tier 1.
Exactly. If you're this far behind in the game, your option is not to go up, defend top turret, try and get past that 3-man squad that's ganking your Galio. You always want to trade on the opposite side. That way, at least you go even in gold, buy yourself some more time, and kind of delay a little bit for the scaling that Unicorns of Love want to come in on this Twitch. And he's working on it.
But they're super slow on the play. In P1, they're already sitting at this tier 2 tower before Twitch has even been able to take it down. So they still have the tempo advantage, and they're looking to try and get another objective.
Hook lands.
Yeah, but he's very durable, so nothing can be had just yet. Hillsong looking for the hook, but there's no one to really kill. The damage isn't there. It took Samex a while, but he still gets the turret down. Then P1, all they got was half the health off top lane tier 2. They've got to revisit before that actually matters. Trade of objectives and time delayed benefits Unicorns.
But you guys got to remember the battering ram, right? These guys, even though it's broken, they'll still try and use it. And the thing about Unicorns' 20-minute mark is really where they kick off, as Chachi may have been caught.
He's going to try to ult away, and he's going to. No hearts to see what's left, but Exile walks into a 1v3, has to flash over the wall.
And Exile is picking up the pieces of that battering ram, but he's like getting splinters all over it, just hurting himself over and over. He's 0-4 here on the rise. 2, be fair for Phoenix 1, they camped him, but he played right into the camp, and he was playing super aggressive and overextending, staying at turrets, and he has been the one receiving probably the most criticism on Unicorns of Love recently, so it is holding true here in the openings of Rift Rivals.
But you can see now the setup from P1 in the top half of Unicorns of Love jungle. So much vision investment with the Baron spawning in about 30 seconds. Now, are they going to rush it down? Unlikely, but having that setup and making UOL constantly have to check into an area of the map that they don't have control of gives P1 more opportunities to find picks, get a kill here or there, and then easier transition into that Baron.
We'll see what the transition can be right here. 6,000 puts the gold lead ahead for Phoenix 1 as Hillsong is getting some time with his Baron pit, and actually a pretty good smattering of red team wards in that river so far as Baron spawns in 6 seconds right here. But here we see P1 trying to set up. They are, again, the team with the lead. They have the better battering rams, honestly. They can lead the charges in right here. So the castle walls may be following here for Unicorns as P1 invading and hoping to knock down these castles. They're going to look to knock down this blue buff.
They've got siege tools beyond just the battering.
They've got a trebuchet. Yeah. It's the best possible one. I'm surprised the internet did not like my trebuchet joke more, but that's okay. We're going to move on.
Honestly, though, if by trebuchet you mean 1-3 run, then yeah, they should definitely do that, because Thresh can save anyone who's overextended. Zig right now actually is quite comfortable on the Renekton, because with extra tenacity from your Merc Treads and both summoners available, he should be able to escape. Even though we always bring up, oh yeah, Twitch, the kind of stealth assassin who can pull out these surprise plays and try and double gank a lane or something like that. Unicorns are so far behind that difficult to pull that off, actually, and Exile again is the target.
Ooh, the Flay is on. Nice juke on the hook, though. Gets away from Rick Special. Not going to buy some time from Xerxes now against the turret. They're going to look to dive him. And the flash for the auto attack nicks him down. Now they got to get away from Galio. Nice hook pick in, though, by Hillsong. Special flies in to buy some time, and here's Samex in the bottom side. It's a trade of 1-for-1 so far. Finds another with Special, drops down the hook. Posthumously buys a bit of time. He's flashing back, and there's a nice Valkyrie in for you. Picks up yet another for him, and Zig now to join the fight, but one knocked down by Hillsong. Or sorry, by Visit Chachi. It's actually 2 alive Unicorns winning that fight overall 4-3.
They grab the scraps and they find the fight against P1. They go for an over-aggressive dive. They dive onto this tier 2 tower. Once Chachi joins the fray and Samex comes in from the flank, Unicorns of Love have the ideal position to swing this fight in their favor and gain a little bit more gold in their pocket.
That is exactly what Unicorns want. They want Phoenix 1 taking 10 turret shots during an engage, going super deep for this dive, and they're diving. This rise, as we said, is 0-4. Not a big threat right now, and after they miss that hook and after Exile dodges it, they go a bit too deep here. Mike Young even flashes in so far here, and they get the hook in. The Galio does come in, and the flank from Samex, so much pressure here. Even though he has to flash under his turret and Ryu eventually gets him, that is a commitment from Ryu. He makes Ryu sacrifice his life for that extra kill, and they actually come out ahead during that.
And look at how late that TP was from Zig as well. I was just keeping an eye on him on the minimap. Galio was able to walk from bot to mid, ulti, get involved in the fight before Zig even said, oh, I should TP into this fight and try and help my team out, which means that for the majority of that, it was a 4v4, which P1 could have swung in their favor as they try and look for another play in mid.
Not going to get it just yet. That's going to be a realm warp that goes nowhere, but at least they tried. You can see this gold lead, though, only 3,500. Certainly Unicorns closing the gap a bit. The kills they picked up were nice for them in that they earned a couple of positive bits. They earned some shutdown gold. We'll see what comes in next. Mike Young going to grab this Cloud Drape.
And one thing I really want to talk about is the itemization being picked up here for Chachi, because the Abyssal Mask, it did have a few buffs on patch 7.13, and as we were discussing backstage, this is one of the items that could very well keep Galio in the meta. Now it gives you a lot more mana, the magic resistance is slightly reduced, but you basically get the Iron of the Catalyst passive that you typically would. So it gives him a little bit more sustain and makes his laning phase that bit easier. And also with the sheen that you get from the gauntlet, it gives him a little bit more fighting power.
Yeah, I actually am a really big fan of the changes to Abyssal Mask, as long as you're a champion that also utilizes mana. Here we go, though. He's face checking.
They hook in the tank, though he's durable. The shield still not broken. The fight begins. They've already almost knocked down Zig. He might just burn, and he will. Samix picks up one, but a shot back comes in as Ryu takes one in. Looking for Chachi. Damage reduction on doesn't matter. Mike Young takes him out with a kick to the back of the head. And Exile is isolated and alone. The Ren stacks are in. There's the slow Flay to bring him in. That's the kill surely for Ryu.
Oh, what a flank and kick there by Mike Young, able to get the perfect lineup. Samix right into the enemy team, plus knocking up 3 on his way. And that ensures Phoenix One a very big team fight victory. Now we'll see, can Xerxes pull off something crazy, or is he even going to try?
He might attempt this one. The wards have all been turned off for now, but he's also going to put a control over the wall. It's not going to get turned off. So let's see if they can go for it. Ryu going to look for the duel against Xerxes. They have Ren stacks. It shouldn't be too hard.
Exactly. Plenty of Ren stacks, so it's kind of a...
Oh, okay, they got it. That was close, though. There was a window in between. Xerxes could have smited.
Exactly. Usually you want to smite first, then use the Ren, because the Ren is much bigger and much safer, but that was very, very close there. Didn't have, quite the execution on it. Meanwhile, let's take another look at this, because at the beginning, you think, oh, it doesn't look so bad for Unicorns. They had their, main tank face check it, but Mike Young on the side just runs straight up through the lane and gets the perfect kick.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful flank from Mike Young. UOL seemed to just not notice, because he had to do very little work. He literally just walked up the lane, placed the ward and got the kick, and then when all of the focus goes down from Samix onto Zig, that's not the big damage loss that you really need to worry about. So the fact that Ryu and Arrow is still available, you had the Ren and the Smite still up for the Baron, it meant that a big objective secure for P1, making them look very promising at this point in the game.
Yeah, that's the big problem here for Unicorns. As soon as Samix goes down, you're looking at a 0-6 rise as your main DPS, and that is not going to be enough to pull you back from a gold deficit like this.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. At the very least, the Galio has Abyssal Mask to bump his damage, so even if Exile's down, he does 10% more damage kind of all the time, but still individually, he is 4,500 behind where this Corki is. 10% damage doesn't make up for that, so certainly much more coming out of the P1 mid laner. We'll see what they can get next, as it looks like a pretty heavy push towards top. Baron buff still on for 2 minutes. And we'll see if they can push this game even farther apart.
It's going to be difficult now for the Unicorns of Love to really find that optimal fight that they are so well known for finding, because just look at the vision on the map right now. P1 controls so much of it with their good vision control, and the rest of Unicorns, they're not even in a position to defend this tower.
And the turret's going down very quickly here. One more of those.
They can kill him! Oh, they gun shy a little bit too much. It looked like they were kind of in the middle of retreating, even though they had the power, looking to get one more shot on this turret. Will kill it. And there it goes.
Yeah, honestly, I'd say don't take the extra risk. Even if it's that close and that easy, one more auto, they're so far ahead that you don't want any, CC stacking or anything to actually catch you up while the turret is still firing shots. Meanwhile, Phoenix One, they eventually do get it down, and now trying to work on the inhibitor ever so slowly with the Baron-empowered minions.
See what they can try for. Inhib taking some damage, down about 20% here.
Samix goes invisible.
All right, this means it might be time for the fight, but it's going to time out in about 4 seconds. You won't have any attack speed, and that's right when Unicorns start walking forward. No fight to be had just yet, though. Reset. Ocean still kicking in for Ryu, putting his health back up, and a little bit of poke, but this turret's inhibitor going to lose some life. Hook in onto the front line, looking for a lot of damage, especially going to get a flay for a shield. Ulted right back out by Kalista. Vizichachi taking up a lot of shots. Out he goes.
So UOL, they're a little too afraid to commit to anything now, because if they do lose a big fight in this point, P1 could very well just end the game. So instead, they're just going to take the defensive approach, lose the top lane inhibitor, and just buy time, get a little bit more farm, wait for those second, third items to come in before they're willing to try and challenge P1 again.
Yeah, I think that is correct. Just let the pieces of the battering ram stay on the ground, wait a little bit. The only neutral objective coming up here is a 2-minute away Ocean Drake, so not like they're going to lose out a whole bunch while farming this top side when the super minions come in. So they have a little bit of time to wait. Things aren't going to get tremendously worse for them unless Ryu really wants to deliver this package straight into the base, because Phoenix One still have a little bit of time left on this Baron buff, and they are trying to pressure the mid and bottom at the same time. It'll probably just be the secondary turret that they go for here and don't really want to tower dive or anything.
See what they find for themselves. Control it on the wings at a spot for potential Twitch flanks. Not going to find him here, and they're going to keep playing the siege game. Baron up minion feeling pretty good for them, although that's going to time out soon enough. Looks like Mike Young, the only one building it now with his mastery choices. Ryu forced to run away. Hillsong, of course, Mobius would turn off due to Valkyrie, so Corki, a little bit of extra synergy in terms of getting away from that champion. Going to be just fine for this one as they continue to play for bot lane tier 2. Baron buff still on just for the jungler, and they're going to get some damage onto this. Got a half HP, finally times out here, and that will be this turret falling. No wave clear left available, and now 10,000 gold puts Phoenix One ahead.
Systematic destruction right now from the side of P1. They're very calculated in the way that they are taking these objectives, and UOL, they're being spread so thin that they can't find those optimal fights. It's very difficult, especially with the gold deficit that they're currently under. And I just love the way in which P1 are playing around the map. They have really good vision. They're respecting the Blitzcrank. They're always mindful of the possibility of getting caught out. And right now, they're just playing a very slow game and making things as difficult as possible for UOL to find that fight.
See what they find up next. The team is all converged on the mid lane, looking to siege this one. 2 attacks will knock the turret down. Chachi taunts up. When the minion wave is there, Hook's going to land onto an important target, though. Going to lock the knock back in as well, and here comes the Thresh, and a big redemption heal coming in as well. Taunts on a Zig is getting low on health, forced him to recall and bite kite back as well. Hook's not quite going to land just yet, and Hib still could be attacked, but Ryu chasing on the front lines, looking for Chachi. Not going to get it, gets just barely away from that Blitzcrank. Hillsong nearly took him down, and Hib's going to fall, though, no casualties.
Fantastic hooks, time and time again from Xpecial. Landing this one onto Exile, very quickly shutting him out of this fight, and 0-7-4 right now. Exile has not had the ideal debut performance that he would have wanted at Rift Rivals of 2017. Things looking so fantastic for this P1 squad as they take down their second and hit and round things out with a drag.
All right, let's take another look. And as you said, Exile, he was looking to correct things coming into this tournament, but it has not happened here so far. Gets taken down very quickly. And then you think that, oh, Samix actually, during the time Exile was going down, got quite a bit of DPS uptime there, even with his ultimate, but doesn't matter, as Phoenix One were able to take out the other threat and move very quickly on to the inhibitor. So now 2 of them down, 2 lines of super minions coming in, and still so much vision control for Phoenix One. They've been able to starve out most of the wards from Unicorns of Love.
There is a pending power spike, though. Samix is basically right at Infinity Edge money, so that could turn things around next time if he can stay alive for the next fight, but we'll see if that power spike is enough. A good roam warp gets the team to safety, but they still have to deal with the fact that it's a 9,000 gold deficit. We saw Cloud9 fight back from roughly that a little earlier, even though G2 were still able to close that one down. Question is, can Unicorns of Love do the same with their team fighting?
Problem is, Baron is coming up in just 30 seconds, so Phoenix One can continue with this pace.
Yep.
They can bait this Baron very easily. As we said, most of the wards from Unicorns time out due to them being corralled inside their base for so long. So Phoenix One have all the opportunities for Xpecial to land more hooks, get more picks, chase them down for kills, or if Unicorns of Love don't even want to go face check, then it'll just be a Baroned up siege coming with double super minions, and either way you slice it, Unicorns got a really rough situation here, so it looks like return to the mid lane then.
They're going to try and get the push on mid, so it's easy to then transition over to the Baron. TP is available for Zig, and they're going to challenge now as the Baron kicks off.
Looking to rush. Xerxes over the wall. Can he get in? Who's going to buy some time? There's the smite into Ren. That's the combo you want, and Baron goes down cleanly enough. Phoenix One back to the mid.
UOL, they are really struggling to find any good fight right now. P1 are just systematically making it too difficult the way in which they set up around the Baron. We've talked so much about their vision, and they're just answering everything that UOL typically brings that have made them so successful here in Europe, and they're shutting them down so effectively.
See if they can shut down the game soon enough. The Trebuchet arming its next giant rock, looking to siege the castle once again to the bot lane. As unfortunately the battering ram is still just splinters. P1 putting several of their members here in this bot lane. Looks like it's still going to be all 5 of them. Letting Vizicachi clear out minions in the top side, but it's okay. They think with the gold lead, P1 can simply go 0-0-5 and close the game out this way.
Yeah, definitely looking like it. Here come Phoenix One on the turret. Remember, these are very, very... Oh, here they go, flashing.
The flash engage for the galley to bring in. The team's going to run in, and Expression puts in the Locket Shield and kites back. They're going to be fine. Redemption as well, just to make sure they can reset the fight. They've got such a gold lead. As long as they're healthy, they're going to be okay. Nice attempt, but turned around well.
Top inhibitor has respawned there for Unicorns of Love, so Phoenix One also should be able to rotate someone up there later, but it looks like Ryu's gone back to usher up the minions. Baron-empowered speed does get them there a little bit quicker, and this might be the last push onto this inhibitor turret.
They try it for what he wants, and he kicks back the front line. They found him, and Samus is gone. Mike Young cannot do wrong this game. Vizicachi now turning up the front side, but the turret is already gone. The third inhibitor going to fall as well, even though top has respawned. But Phoenix One in a 5v4, and the gold leads don't matter anymore. There's too many people. Nice juke by Exile, but will it even matter? The minions are there. The turret's falling. Nexus turret number 1 about to drop, but it's first up to Chaki to tank up the team. Xerxes in the back line can't find anyone to kill. The chase on forward. Ryu back on a rampage. They found the tank as well. Zig putting at the front line. A kill comes through for Arrow, his 3rd of the game. And the turrets are falling. The champions as well. Hylissang is gone, and Phoenix One will get their first win of Rift Rivals. Unicorn starting out 0-1. They will have more to play, but P1 going to make it a 1-1 scoreline for themselves. GG in 33 minutes.
Beautiful plays from Mike Young in this game. All starting off by getting that kill onto Exile. Didn't respect the fact that Mike Young was in his half of the jungle, but the pressure didn't stop after that. Gank after gank after gank in the middle lane, finding fantastic kicks time and time again. Followed it up with the number of great hooks that Expression was landing, and you had 2-star performers that made this a very clean and efficient game from P1.
Phoenix One drafting early, staying to the game plan, camping mid lane, constant pressure for themselves, and just absolutely smash Unicorns of Love here in the Unicorns' first game.
Pretty incredible, honestly. You can see the caliber of players there. I mean, the 11-something and 11 scoreline for Yi was actually incredible. 28,000 damage in only 33 short minutes. A very, very high clip for him. Big smiles out of Mike Young, a stark contrast to how Ryu looks after every game, no matter what. And honestly, the amount of sick plays were amazing. He said, play it like solo queue, went for the big plays, just give the right amount of respect to your opponents, and he certainly seemed to do that. Mike Young, just actually incredible on release, and so many important plays. To die only once, when he's willing to flash into an enemy team alone, just with a kick, certainly amazing.
And we're still seeing the same kind of mistakes that we always see from the Unicorns of Love. The lack of respect towards their opponent being the biggest one. Going for invades without proper understanding where the enemy is, trying to make plays happen, again, without proper vision and understanding. And it just seems to me so many times the Unicorns of Love give a lot of the advantages away to their opponents, which they just so effectively use to crush them.
Absolutely the case. Well, Phoenix One either way playing well and coming out on top here against Unicorns of Love, but now our analysts are ready to take a look at their win a little bit closer.
Thank you very much, Freak. Yeah, the Unicorns definitely got stomped there, and I am just a bit surprised, just because even though there were kind of a lot of weaknesses that we knew of the Unicorns going in, they've always seemed to overcome that kind of in the matches that they've played in EU. They beat all the top teams consistently as well, so I was kind of surprised that it went so out of control and that Phoenix One was able to capitalize on it so much.
I mean, I think that playing against a team like this that has a very strong early mid-game comp, it's not forgiving to get that far behind, right? Like, when a Corki is that fed that early, like you can take over the game pretty easily.
Yeah, true. And Mike Young, we talked about him a lot at the beginning of the day, and he put on a standout performance here against Unicorns of Love to get his team ahead, and we're going to take a look, brought to you by Acer, at basically everything that he was doing in the early game. Banaway is nearly, he's worth nothing, they say.
Turns out he's at least a 2-trick.
Yeah, I guess he can play Lee Sin too. Like, his early impact was just, I mean, partially almost like expected, but the way that Exile played like opened up so many more opportunities for him, and he got fed so early on that he was able to actually like do the Rexa later on in the game too. So it kind of like allowed him as well as Corky to like basically trespass.
This one in particular, though, like what is Exile doing? He comes back to the turret, like, no health.
No, you can see that. Like I don't know. Exactly at some point, just like I think that he lost composure. Let's keep it real here.
Well, I mean that has been the problem for a while now. We did talk to Shipia also about that last week, and I said, well, it's not really only his fault. It's a fault also as a team for not calling miss and this and that. But sometimes. You just got to call it out as you see it. He shouldn't get caught there, and he also helped snowballing Phoenix.
I mean, he already escaped, and then it's one of those situations where you're already so far behind that you're feeling really frustrated, and you're like, okay, I can't give up any more farm. Like, I need to fight for this. I need to do something, but it's not the right choice when there's no, like, what's the outplay potential when you have no summoners and, like, 5% health and you're walking back up to the Corky?
Yeah, like, in most cases, when you're behind already, like, you have to communicate even more so. And I think it seems to be something, a pattern almost, that's not coming in for UOL, where the mid lane jungle synergy is almost non-existent. Either he's already behind, or he's playing so much at enemy turret that there's no way for Xerxes to back him up. So in the end, like, I think if Unicorns kind of like focus on that a bit more and actually try to get that in, they would not create these early deficits.
Yeah, this is one of the worst games I've seen them play, but add to the opposite of that, this is a very good game from Phoenix One. I thought Ryu played an amazing game as well. They played good team fights. We're going to take a look at one of those as well right now, which especially rebounding from the game they played earlier versus Fnatic is a good thing to see in this tournament.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, they certainly have the potential, like as individual mechanical players and stuff, to make these plays happen. And I think that they were able to showcase that in this game. The big question, I think, is just, like, can they perform when they're even going into the late game and stuff against some of these top teams? Because I think that's really going to be the biggest test for them.
Yeah, like, that's actually a really good question, because right now, obviously, because of Mike Young and the way that he plays and the way that they play around him, they're always able to create advantages. And this kind of gives you the incentive to actually practice harder again, because you kind of have fresh blood coming in, and you actually get to the point where you can actually play the game. Beforehand, they obviously like fell behind a lot of the time, so they couldn't actually practice in mid to late game, and were always from a like on a downward spiral to begin with. So now, like, actually seeing them like playing early games like okay-ish and not great anymore would maybe like showcase us whether or not they're actually a top-tier team.
Oh, well, very interesting at that. Phoenix One, first win on the board, and how could we not talk to Mike Young? I want to hear from him, so Dracos, take it away.
Excuse me, Shox, that's Mike Young, future rookie of the split that we're talking to. Mike Young. International fans already coming in clutch. So first off, I think coming in, just tell me about the game. How does it feel to just instantly take down Unicorns of Love when you guys were counted so heavily as the underdogs here at Rift Rivals?
Well, coming into the game, I came in with a lot of confidence because I feel like that's the right mentality, how I should play the game, play it really aggressive, be scared of nothing, even if I'm playing against Fnatic, which is one of the top teams in like the world right now. So even though this is my first international event, I'm playing against these players that have played for years, that have so much experience, that's played against the best like SKT before. I just have to come in thinking that I can play better than these guys.
So when you came into this matchup versus Unicorns of Love, was it easier? And then once you had played that first game and kind of realized that it's exactly the same as it has been, was it kind of the same experience now? Like you could come in with the same confidence against UOL?
Pretty much how I like to play the game is just play it without the name tags. And my coaching staff also encourages me to do the same, because I have to go by my word, since I told the coaching staff myself that I won't let the players' names decide how I play the game.
That's fantastic here. Not something that we often hear, especially from younger players. Now, in an interview you did earlier, just days ago, actually, with Freak, you mentioned that it was pretty easy for you to transition into the professional scene from solo queue, to kind of show up and with 2 weeks of practice be a part of a pro team. What's the transition like now, going from the professional scene in the NALCS now onto an international stage here for Rift Rivals?
I feel that playing on this international stage is only going to boost up my confidence and boost up my experience coming back into the NALCS after this week, because I'll have played against all these amazing players already, like the players on Fnatic and the players on Unicorns of Love, and I can't wait to play against G2 tomorrow as well.
I am excited to see it as well. Now, one final question. P1, people thought 6th place team at this event, no doubt. You've now taken down the Unicorns of Love. Where do you see P1 finishing overall in terms of helping out NA?
Well, coming into this Rift Rivals, pretty much everybody expected P1 as the 8th place NA LCS team to go 0-6. So we already proved most of the fan base wrong. So there's definitely going to be some memes on Reddit.
All right, well, maybe not a bold prediction, but definitely some memes on Reddit to check out. Well, thank you so much, Mike Young, for taking the time to talk to me. That guy loves you. That's super bonus. All right, well, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. We're going to toss to a quick break. When we return, Fnatic versus Cloud9. We'll see who can pull out ahead in EU versus NA.
And the flash, the E is going to land. He misses the Q, though. Sonic Wave's not there. Ryu go for the autos. One more will get him. And he takes down Exile for first blood.
Oh, my God. It's okay, Exile. Phoenix One actually use it against Unicorns of Love as a little bit of a bait.
Play down for a couple of seconds. They will knock down the mid lane or the top. I should say that both solos are gone. The hook's going to land, and that's going to be a dead Blitzcrank. Alosong losing his life. Tank, though he's durable. The shield still not broken. The fight begins. They've already almost knocked down Ziggy. Might just burn, and he will. Samix picks up one, but a shot back comes in as Ryu takes one in. Looking for Chachi. Damage reduction on doesn't matter. Mike Young takes him out with a kick to the back of the head. P1 going to make it a 1-1 scoreline for themselves. GG in 33 minutes.